Good old traditional phone. Okay, I'm recording now. All right. So, apart from technical difficulties, we spent like 20 minutes trying to figure that out and didn't figure it out. So,
my favorite podcast often has technical difficulties, and they have these episodes where they have like 3 or 4 episodes where they're like, we couldn't do anything, so here is just a blooper reel of us trying to figure out like the tech problems, and we used up our time.
I love that. That's wonderful. I feel like that's what people need.
RPG. It's a Pokemon RPG podcast.
I like that.
Been going on for like 10 or so years now.
Right. Okay, so wait, I don't have my notes. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna run and get my notes. Okay. I got my notes. All right. So I did chapter summaries, but I only got to chapter 16. So since you're doing the overview anyway, I figure, it's not that important. I just wanted to have like a good, a good explanation on page in case like you need me to jump in or something.
I'm gonna do a chapter by chapter summary of like what sort of plotty things happen, but I'm not going to talk about the things that I thought were symbolic or anything until afterwards.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
This is what happened, this is what happened, and this is what happened, and then we can like, because I have thoughts and there's like a lot of little other details that it would take too long to give a whole plot summary going into.
Right. Okay, let's get started then.
All right. Let me light up my smoking stick. All right. This is the Beheading Game by Rebecca Lemon. This is her first novel. Apparently, she's written poetry and she writes for online publications. I had a fancy that I might check out her other writing, which I probably will do in the future, but I have not done that yet. Have you done that?
No, I did not. I was just like cold turkey. The reason I know about this book at all, even though I went to like some major, like I went to Books A Million when I was with Derek, and they had the Beheading Game there. So I was like, I was surprised to see that this was already like fairly well publicized, that like it was kind of all over the place. But the reason I know about this book is because I listened to Vulgar History mention. I love Vulgar History. It's like a feminist woman's podcast about history, and she had the author on to talk about this book, and I was like, this sounds so fucking cool. And I was right. Cool. I was right. I wasn't wrong.
It has all the trappings of a pop novel, but without the vapidity that pop novels usually fucking have.
Yeah, and I guess that's why it was in like fucking Books A Million. I'm sure it was at Barnes and Noble too. I was shocked to see it there. I was like, what? Because I thought, I thought it was kind of niche or something, because it is kind of like a Anne Boleyn coming back to life. It feels like something that only history girlies would be interested in.
It has a digestibility to it that, like, normally books that you can gobble like this usually aren't that good.
Right.
In the sense of, like, what they mean and the prose, but, like, her prose is fucking on point.
Yeah, but, like,
her symbolism is there, but not clunky.
Yeah, and I like how a lot of the book is spent in Anne's memories.
Right.
And,
right.
like, so it tells the story without, like, just spitting facts, which was really nice.
But the pacing wasn't slow. Like I'm picky about pacing. Like, I get real fussy about pacing in books, and the pacing was like just.
It was good. It was good because like it wasn't too many chapters, but it was also like it felt like each chapter was kind of nice and short, and so like
But
it
I
was
still had.
very digestible, like you
But
said.
at the same time, I was, even though it was digestible, I was still compelled to do the thing that I do with like really clunky, chewy books, where I reread a page a couple times.
Yeah.
But maybe I just do that out of habit now.
I think you
Like,
do that out of habit, but like I will say because there is so much about her past that I when I was doing my like summaries, I had to like kind of reread things over and over because I was like, wait, what happened? And then what happened? But then also I did read, I think it's the hold on. What is it? It's like the prologue. I read the prologue and she said basically that she had no, it wasn't the prologue. I can't remember what it was, but it was like where she made a statement about the book and she was
that's the author's notes at the end.
Okay.
Which I will be referencing later.
Yeah, sorry, what was I saying before that? I completely forgot because I was trying to find it. Did we both forget what I was saying? That's fine. Yeah, okay, let's move on. Let's continue.
Okay, so we were talking about the author and everything and how you started reading this and stuff. So, anywho, this book is about Anne Boleyn, the second wife of Henry VIII. She, in real life, she gets beheaded, and like all the historical truths are in here, and then there's a bunch of magical realism. This is a magical realism book, by the way. Like,
I think that was one of the things. I think that's what I was gonna comment on is like the things that I remember. She had to reimagine a lot of Anne's life because we don't have very much information on it. Sorry, that's what I was trying to say before. Because I was like,
we specifically don't have a lot of it. So I looked up the Wikipedia. We specifically don't have a lot of information about it because Henry VIII, and she talks about this in the book. Henry really did have a ton of stuff just fucking destroyed because they were trying to like, well, we're just gonna we're gonna make people forget about her, and so like
Henry was a tyrant, and I say that because like she even mentions this in the book where Henry and some other nobles are like lining their coffers with like money from the Catholic Church. And like that was one of the main things that I remember my mom telling me because my mom was a big like British history head. She loved British history and
Catholics.
Yeah, and Catholicism. And so they were lining their coffers with that money. And so like like he was such a like just a shitty guy. So I'm not surprised that he like just got rid of all of her stuff afterwards. Like later in the book where they repurpose her clothes for Jane.
Oh, that's a theme starting out with the arrow chest. Okay.
Oh yeah. Okay, let's get into let's
jump into
yeah, before we give it all away.
All right, so the book starts up with her waking up after she was beheaded, and then she like wakes up. She like realizes that her head is like in her lap, and like throughout the book, there are her musing about the why and the rules of her afterlife. She's like, I don't know why this is going on. I don't know, empower me. Am I dead? Am I alive? Can I be killed again? Like, she muses about this on. And the first time is like first when she wakes up. She gets out of the wooden box she's in. She realizes that it's not a coffin, it's an arrow chest, and she kind of like fumes about it for a second about how cheap and thrifty he is. And this is a theme throughout the book. And when I looked up the Wikipedia, this was like a real theme in his life too. And so she realizes that she's in the cathedral in the Tower of London. She sneaks out, she gets into a boat, and once she gets into the boat, like this little rowboat, she immediately falls asleep. And then she wakes up the next day in the suburb that's directly south of London, Southwark.
Southwark, yeah.
And so she gets out of the boat, she sneaks into an innkeeper's shop, like an innkeeper's apartment, and she steals a handkerchief to cover her head and a sewing basket, and she goes out in the bushes, and then she sews her head back on.
Yes.
And
she also steals some ale, and she drinks that, which I thought was a nice touch.
She just like swilled it down. She's like I remember, and she also pees in the bushes too.
Yeah.
It's like a big old stream. And I think like the author put this in to like, it's like she does this nonchalantly.
Right.
So it makes me think, yeah, like it's like, look at this queen. Doesn't she pee? Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So, and then she sews a piece of silk that she kept to remind her of Elizabeth into a collar around her neck.
The baby blanket, literally the swaddling cloth.
Yeah, the swaddling cloth.
And she remarks about how like it smells like the baby.
Yeah.
And then she goes off. She's hungry. She steals some bread from a baker, and then she gets too close to close to where the south gate of the London Bridge is, and then she realizes that she has the dilemma that like she needs money to cross the London Bridge, and she has no money, and then she's kind of pushed into this fair thing with a line, and she like fucking flirts her way in with this youth.
I will say, let me stop you there, because I think that there's some like important bits here. I wrote, Anne shows she's still a queen with bad ideals because she sees a man at the pillory attached by his ear and thinks about a pregnant woman who denied Anne's queendom, and like how she was punished, and Anne feels guilt but then decides the people have to be taught lessons. And so like I want to just comment that in many ways this is like a story about becoming a better person, but also says that some people don't deserve a second chance because they can't change. And they've like done something so heinous and unforgivable that like they deserve what's coming to them. And then there's a potential foreshadowing here in this is chapter 3, but chapter 4 is where she gets pushed into the line. Chapter 3, foreshadowing, where her brother George plays at being the Green Man to cheer her up in like a memory. So I
also highlighted that part too.
Yeah, I just wanted to point that out because I thought that was important. Continue.
Okay. Yeah. So there's that, and then she goes and she's pushing this crowd, and it turns out to be a bear baiting thing. And there's symbolism here that I can't. Like, do you remember the details of the bear baiting?
Yeah, so they're like, you are gathered here to behold a fearsome spectacle on this auspicious day, the whore queen dead. And obviously that doesn't make her very happy. And then
they're really like, I remember.
And then she's like, "What the fuck? He didn't even mourn me." Yeah, like so the old blind bear is attacked by a bunch of dogs. The bear kills them, even though it's not having a great time. Then they send in a monkey on a donkey, which was weird. And Anne thinks that she was like that monkey, so like the symbolism there. The bear kills some of the men with whips, so they kill the bear. And then the man she's been sitting with kisses her, and his name is John.
He literally says, "I know a spot."
Yeah, he's like, I know a spot.
And
But yeah,
then
she's like, I need to kill Henry. That, like the bear, I need to kill the bear.
when she decides. That's when she decides she needs to kill Henry.
Yeah, and like
she's,
there's symbolism in the fact that the bear was blind. It's a whole thing.
And she uses, the author uses this theme throughout the book of like a beast that needs to be put down.
Right. Okay, so John and the River is chapter 5. Continue.
Yeah, so she goes there. He's talking about his mom and how she wants to meet him, and she realizes that he doesn't want to actually fuck, but he wants to I think make her her pet, and they do do hand stuff. They do hand stuff, and they he gropes her.
Yeah, he gets her off. Which is interesting because she talks about, this is the chapter where she in her head she's talking about Boudica, powerful women,
right?
And it's so everything is for her kind of thing.
Oh, another detail that was before this. Remember when she was remembering about how the first time that Henry thinks that they met, even though they met 2 times before, was when they did the morality play, and she was Perseverance. Right. More symbology here, Perseverance.
Yeah. Okay, so she steals his money and kisses him on the forehead.
There's another star scene. She wakes up and she sees the stars for a little bit, and there's a lot of or am I misplacing something?
No, you're right.
Yeah, she wakes up, she talks about the stars for a bit, and she does this a handful of times throughout. There's a lot of repetition of themes in here. It's kind of tautological, but in a pleasant way.
Right.
And so she wakes up, she steals his money. It's still in the I guess it's it might be the witching hour. It might be 3 in the morning. It's or 4 in the morning or something. It's
early. Yeah.
Yeah, it's early. And then she wanders around, and then she passes the prison, the clink, and she talks about that for a little bit, and then she sees a group of prostitutes walk out, and she decides to follow them, and she notices which one's probably the leader, and the other one.
Well, no, she follows the youngest looking one. I don't know why she does that.
No, she doesn't. She says she. I'm gonna look this up. No, I remember it specifically. She realized which one was the leader, and she follows her.
No, the youngest, quote, a woman with copper-colored hair.
Oh.
Yeah.
I remember her.
Well, it's easy to think of Alice as a leader because she is very much a leader type person. So I understand why you would have made that mistake. That's why I have notes.
You know what? I should have made better notes. I'm gonna fucking give me a second. Oh, while looking for this thing, this is something I highlighted on page 58. And there is nothing any man, kings included, hates more than being laughed at by a woman.
Yeah, I like that.
So she follows the youngest prostitute with the copper-colored hair, and she suddenly turns around and is like, why are you following me? And then Anne's like, I'm not following you. He's like, no, not you, him. And Anne turns around, and it's John, the handsy guy that she robbed from. And he threatens her and calls her a whore and wants her money back. And Anne produces a knife. Jane produces a knife. And
you mean Jane Doe?
Jane Doe.
Jane Doe produces a knife.
And Anne mentally comments about she did not know that night. She was impressed. The first thing she's impressed by with Jane is her ability to just fucking throw out a threat and scare off a man. That's the start of this. Just because she denies it, and she knows Jane doesn't believe her. Jane knows she fucking stole from him.
Right. And I wrote down, thinks back to her life when Henry was courting her. There's a comet in the sky considered a good omen, suggesting that her meeting with we don't know her name yet, Jane, is a good omen, right? That's connected with her connected with her future, right?
Yeah. I was meaning to look up what, because this might be a literal comment, like it might be Haley's comment or something. Like that might be a real thing. I meant to look it up, but I did not. And so scares John off, and this is where the lying starts to happen.
Yeah, the lying game. This could be called the lying game.
I'm pretty sure there's probably a novel called that.
Yeah, there's probably a novel called that.
Probably written by a mediocre white man.
And she takes her to a brothel, falls asleep on the brothel floor, and then has a dream of a leopardess searching for her cub with food in its mouth. And then the trees are like passing the cub around and like calling. Yeah. And so like that's like, I feel like, okay, this is the one thing I didn't like about this book, is that the dreams that people would have were so like hyper specific. Like I wanted there to be a little bit more complexity to the dream, so you actually had to think about it, versus being like, oh yeah, like when Jane Doe has her dream clearly about Anne.
Right.
Like it's so like, okay, yeah, obviously like you could have done some more complexity there and like made it a little bit more like hard to like unpack, versus just like quite literally giving us the real, like giving us the answer, like what literally happened kind of thing.
This is a point that I'm waiting till we get to the end and our thoughts, but I have thoughts on the specific thing that you're talking about.
Yeah, okay. We'll put that on hold. All right. And then okay, chapter 7, a bargain.
So she like tells more lies. She's like, I was murdered. Like my husband tried to fucking kill me. I am a noble. Because
she was murdered. She was murdered. What? You said I was murdered.
She was. I feel like she was thinking that. Like
yeah, she was basically like, yeah, I was killed, but anyway, you know.
Anyway, no big deal. I'm still here.
Actually, they couldn't kill me because I'm just like that cool.
Because I once played a morality play as persistence. That's why.
Exactly, I persisted. You know, when life gets you down, I feel like a boomer in this moment. When life gets you down, you just, even if they chop off your head, you persist. That's what we did in my day and age. All right, okay. And then
so she gives a plausible lie because like Jane calls her out on being noble because Jane notices her shoes are really nice even though they're dirty.
Right.
And she's like, yeah, I was like fucking choked out by my husband. She gave him a bunch of truths. She like did. She like, the really gave
so many truths. She was actually really honest for like the amount of obfuscation she should have been engaging with. She did not do that. She was like, yeah, I'm going to tell the truth at any possible moment that I can.
Honestly, like this is if you are in a situation where you need to lie out of survival, this is the best way to lie.
Yeah, that's fair. Because then, like, you know, if like it's harder to misremember like a lie that you told.
This is exactly why it's the best way to lie.
Right.
You're not really building a net. Why do something elaborative when you don't have to?
Right, exactly. It was just funny to me because I'm like, you're just giving the queen story because she's famous, you know, she's the great whore. You know, so it was just funny to me because she's like straight up just like doling out that like, yeah, here's my story, and it's like, girl, you should be a little more subtle.
Right.
Because like, to be fair, Jane does not know enough about her because like most of the commoners don't, for it to like be a problem. But like if she were alive today, it would be a problem because people were like, but I read in your Wikipedia that. Okay. Continue. Where were we?
We were chapter 7, hand job, waking up in the brothel. So they wake up in the brothel. She asks Jane for help. Jane refuses a few times. She promises riches, and Jane's convinced partially by riches, but you can tell Jane's just like feeling sympathy for this person, even though like she's really like Jane's always really openly judgy about like, hey, you're naive and privileged.
Right, which is good for Anne.
But she's still sympathetic to Anne, and I think that this is like one of the keener like feminist points of this is women protecting women situation.
Right. And this is also where we get Jane Doe's real name. What's her name?
Jane.
No, her name's Alice.
I've been calling her Jane.
Oh why? I thought we were doing a Jane Doe type situation.
Oh no, we did a daily. I knew her name was Alice. You
know no, Jane Seymour is the other woman. The other woman. The other girl. Yeah.
Whatever. I blundered my way into cleverness.
Look, okay, yeah, you did. You bumbled your way into cleverness because I was like, oh yeah, Jane Doe.
You said that, and I was just like, I should have been like.
That was really good.
So,
okay.
Yes, Jane Doe was now Alice.
All right. Okay. I'm sorry. This is so funny to me.
It's funny.
Right. I'm sorry. Okay.
Sometimes, hey, look, I'm really smart, but I'm also really dumb.
Yeah, I too. Man, you know me.
Oh yes, I do.
That was not a vote of confidence laugh. All right. Okay. Chapter 8. We get to Mr. Fox.
Yeah. Oh yes. So in this chapter, she remembers being sick, and her brother George, who was also executed during this, and tells her, and George, it's revealed that George is probably gay.
Yeah, this is where we find that out.
That he was probably gay, and he was a charismatic.
Oh, actually, that's chapter 9. As we find out that he's probably gay. So chapter.
He tells her.
Yeah, chapter 8. He tells her a story.
A folk story, and it's kind of like a Bluebeard sort of trope. Okay, so Mr. Fox is the story that he makes up, and the main character is named after Anne. And I remember her commenting, like all children want to hear.
Yeah.
Their name in a story. No, that's not till later on when there's another story in the Fens.
Right.
But, and in Mr. Fox, it's about a daughter who...
She gets engaged to Mr. Fox, who appears on the surface to be like this fantastic guy. But one day she follows him to his castle, and she sees, and the castle has on it the words "Be bold, be bold." And she sneaks into the castle and sees that Mr. Fox has been murdering women, and in fact murdered a woman with like a diamond ring and then took her diamond ring.
Yeah, she takes the diamond ring and she confronts Mr. Fox about this.
Yeah, and then he's like, that was just a dream. And then her family like leaps in and kills him, cuts him to pieces. Yeah. And then after the dream, Anne has her own dream where there is falcon imagery, and it's basically like a dream about Mr. Fox. But there's falcon imagery, which is important later on. But before all this, Anne is following Alice around. She's avoiding seeing all the heads of the accused on spikes because these are the people she supposedly slept with, including George, her brother. Alice mentions that she doesn't know why the Queen's head isn't up there.
Right.
Alice keeps calling Anne the Great Whore, and Anne understandably doesn't like it, particularly because she was fairly chaste before she became queen, and lies were fabricated about her having lovers when she was queen. So Anne
abided by the book that she was told was the book.
Right. She really
life.
did. She really did. Like most scholars, and that was mentioned, I think, in the prologue, where she was like, the author was like, yeah, most scholars basically say that this was all fake. All of it was fake. It was completely fabricated just to kill Anne. So Anne asks if Alice is Catholic, just to see if like that's one of the reasons she's calling her the Great Whore, because like obviously Anne is Protestant.
Right.
And then we learn a little bit more about the life in the fens, and then they pass the heads on the bridge, and then that's when we get the story of Anne being sick, and the falcon imagery. Be bold, be bold. Then chapter 9 is the trial. In real life, they were not tried together. So
I read that.
Yeah. But in the book they are. So she's accused of fucking men in her chambers because that's where she would get her work done. So she would invite people into her chambers because that's what the French do. And she was raised for a considerable period of time in France.
And every time she talks about that, you can tell that was pretty much the happiest time of her life.
Yeah, like she was so happy in France, and like I remember there's like a period in the book where she like calls like England like dusty and old and like behind with the times basically. And like I feel like reading this book made me genuinely feel for Anne Boleyn, because like I never quite got a palpable sense of like who she might have been. And like so it's just really nice to like sit down with a book that like of someone who was clearly very wronged and like have it justified, you know, like have her life justified of like, no, she should have lived and here's why, kind of thing. And
this is a revenge fantasy, but I will save that for the end of this also.
Yeah, it's very much a revenge fantasy. But so lots of people were invited to her chambers, including Cromwell, who is prosecuting her at the trial, which is crazy that he's even allowed to do that. And then this is where it's heavily suggested that George was gay. George mouths to her, be bold," when they are separated. Mm-hmm. And Anne sees Henry as Mr. Fox. Like, symbolically. Okay, and then chapter 9. Alice and Anne
she doesn't see him as Mr. Fox during the trial. She's thinking
not during the trial, but she thinks it because in her memories.
Yeah. There's a scene. One thing I would like to say at this point is that throughout the book, we see her. There's a mental processing of what had happened to her, where she gets more righteous in her actions when she realizes like how right she is to be mad. Like there's an intellectual understanding, like we see her putting all the pieces together mentally with these rememberings, where she is actively more understanding of exactly how fucked she got.
Right. Okay, and then chapter 9, we have Alice and Anne. They get pies from the pie man, who acts super creepy to Anne. We're not quite sure what his motives are. But I immediately got like predator, not stealing her money, but like going to rape her kind of thing. That's what I got from that.
I also thought that, like, I think that guy immediately understood that person was a noble person that's under bad circumstances, what might equal a ransom.
Right.
Like, I think that person was, like, Alice noticed her shoes. That guy probably also noticed those shoes. And, like, when in the undressing sequence, when she's, like, trying to change, like, clothes a little bit so everyone knows, the whole thing was going through my mind, like, people are going to see your shoes.
Right.
Like,
right. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. I just got, like, super Predator vibes from this guy.
Yeah.
So Anne begins to consider Alice a friend, which is kind of like the most important part of this chapter. Thinking back to her friend Etienne, who taught her how to kiss, which is foreshadowing. We love some foreshadowing.
Foreshadowing.
There's a lot of foreshadowing in this book, like a lot, and it's all contrived, but it works, and I like it. I'm here for it.
I have at the end of the summary, I'm like, this connects to the last thing you're talking. Like, I have a thing about this. It's great.
Okay. And then we get to chapter 11, Thomas Becket. They go to a church, and Anne passes out. Go ahead.
I fucking loved it. What?
Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Okay, so let me do the Thomas Becket chapter.
Okay.
So she, like, at this point, like, she had vague promises to Alice on how she was going to be able to pay her, and then she's like, "Oh, I'm going to rob the Tower of London," and she gives more lies because, like Alice is like, "What do you mean you're going to rob the Tower of London? Like, you're a nobleman, like, can work there." So she comes with a name of somebody she knows. But, like,
no, that's a part. You're partially doing chapter 11 and 12.
Okay.
So chapter 11.
You actually wrote notes. You keep going.
Okay, so I'm with you up to chapter 16, and then you're on your own. All right, they go to a church, and Anne passes out. The priest helps her loosen her bodice and then feeds her and Anne a meal because, like, people are like, "Oh, like it's Christ," and he's like, "No, she just needs to eat."
Oh, do you remember the line where, like, Alice is, like, questioning, like, doesn't she need bloodletting? And he's like, "Have you ever seen anybody get bloodletted they got better?" And Alice
yeah, I remember that part. That was such a good moment because I was like, yes, we need someone with some sense here. And then this is
feeds her a kidney, which is full of calories.
No, it was liver. Vitamins. It was liver. I thought liver.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah.
But
full of calories, full of iron. So, like, that.
And he did say, like, "Have you lost a lot of blood lately?" But she's like, "Yeah, I had a miscarriage a few months ago, but I also got beheaded."
Yeah, she's like, "I also got beheaded." Didn't actually. Just kidding. So they leave, and then Anne plans a way to get Alice her money by sneaking into the Tower of London. So she hasn't told Alice yet. And then chapter 12, Anne lies to Alice and then says that Charles Brandon, who is besties with Henry, is her husband, even though she fucking hates him, which understandably, because the story that she tells, I'm like, wow, he was such a fucking dick. Parading that woman's like ring in public, like, look, she agreed to give me her hand. I'm so great, right?
It's such a cringy, like, if, like, I saw somebody do it, like, dude, she was, like, drunk and joking, like.
Yeah, and, like, you were also offering your hand to her. Like, you're at fault here. I hate pranksters like that. So then we have, okay. So that's why, because she is married to Charles Brandon, apparently, that is why the money is in the Tower of London. She has Alice hide by the river, Thames, Alice is able to steal about 10 pounds. So she like sneaks in there and like she like throws something to get the guards distracted, and then she steals 10 pounds. And then she wants to
specifically goes to the mint.
Right.
She goes to the mint and steals the 10 pounds.
Yes. So she steals the mint from the mint. Then she wants to find out what happened to the jewels she hid for Elizabeth. And then she goes back into her quarters and she finds the jewelry. It's the quarters where she stayed waiting for execution, and it's kind of like really sad because it like kind of like shows how like nothing kind of like changed after she died.
Right, like there's the indifference because, and the author talks about this in later chapters, and like the character realizes it's because Henrietta and his new mistress are probably fucking somewhere else.
Right, and like so, like she was alone. Hi, Peach, come here. Peach has made an entrance. Everybody say hi to Peach.
Hello, Peach.
She yelled. Ew, yourself. All right. And then, so chapter 13 is Thomas Wyatt. I love this chapter. Because I love the idea that there's someone. I love the idea that there was someone who was always on her side. You know, I thought that was a really good touch. Okay, so he was one of the accused of lying with Anne, but he was not beheaded, and he was not put on a pike.
Because he was a suitor of hers. She considered him a friend, and she understood that he wanted him.
He wrote her beautiful poetry. And she was like, yeah, I always considered him a friend. It wasn't like that much, kind of like one of those things. And, but the reason he's still alive is because Cromwell wants him alive for some reason. I do not know why, because I did not look up the history for that.
No, they say something. He was like friends with somebody. He was friends with somebody specific, and that's why he was spared.
Yeah, no, that was Cromwell. I looked it up. Yeah, it was Cromwell. Cromwell wanted him alive. And so he's jailed by the jailer William Kingston. Anne listens in on their conversation, which eventually takes a turn for the worse, quote unquote, where they start talking about Anne. And then, and like how Thomas Wyatt is like, yeah, you shouldn't have fucking killed her, you stupid son of a bitch. Like, he's not saying it that way, obviously, but like, he's like, he's making his opinions known. And she's like, hell yeah, someone's on my side, basically. And then she accidentally makes two noises, and the second one, Thomas Wyatt sees her first, and he is like, holy shit, awesome, and he's really happy. And then Kingston sees her, and as she's running away, and he's like, holy shit, it's a ghost. And then later, as she's running, she's seen by at least one guard, and then they're all after her, and she runs and jumps into the Thames. Chapter 14. It's called The Woman Ran Still. We see Anne as a noblewoman being mean to Alice when she offers to take Anne to the fens. They have a big fight. It's a big fight. And Anne is like, like, da-da-da-da, like, you're not shit, basically. And Alice is like, what the fuck? Like, you're not shit either.
Anne says some really offensive shit to Alice where, like, she's like, you're just a peasant, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, and like, and that's where it's like one of the things is like, this is a story about a person becoming a better person, because like Anne definitely is not great from the beginning. Yeah, Alice threatens to leave Anne in her undergarments because she's like, you had no problem wearing my clothes and, getting my help. You had no problem taking that from me. So why don't you just stay here on your own and figure it out your own way? And then Anne's like, oh shit, fuck. So understandably, Alice is mad at Anne. They sleep for a few hours, then get on a carriage. And
Anne's contrite a little bit. Like, she's contrite right before they get on the carriage. She apologizes before they get on the carriage, I think. Or is the apology after the carriage?
The apology is after the carriage. And so they haven't gotten on the carriage yet, but like with chapter 15, Anne thinks back on a memory of meeting Henry when she was a little girl. He said, "Good night, dear heart," which was vaguely predatory. Yes. Vaguely predatory. I don't know about vaguely.
No, the author frames it as predatory.
Yeah, because like
the memory later in the book.
I don't know if this is real though. That's one of the reasons I'm like, I don't know if it like that actually happened.
No, that's absolutely a fabrication of the author.
Yeah.
But who knows? He might have been like that. Who gives a
shit? Yeah. And then second meeting. This is where we get the second meeting. Anne is attendant to Queen Claude. And then we get the whole little bit about Leonardo da Vinci, which was super fun. I loved that. Because
I felt like the Leonardo da Vinci's like, yes, there's other famous people here too.
Yeah, I liked that, but apparently that was true only because not that we had like records of it, but because the time corresponds to when Anne was there. But we don't know if they actually met.
Which is, even though I felt that was a little shoehorny, I didn't mind it. Like, it did feel a little shoehorny.
Yeah. But the second meeting, Anne dances with Henry, but he was dancing with her as a favor to his sister Mary, who's been fucking and bears him a son. There's 2 kids. I don't know if they're both sons, but yeah. And then so then I just have chapter 16, The King May Perish Hide. This is Anne and Alice fighting after Alice tells Anne a dream about a wounded dog turning into a wolf with a diamond collar. Alice slaps Anne for insulting her and says she'll help Anne get to the fens, but after that she's on her own. Then they get on the carriage to Bishop's Lynn.
I'd like to point out that I'm pretty sure that Anne got more horny for Alice after she slapped her like that.
I don't know. Maybe.
I think that's a thing.
To be fair, she does like domineering men. Jesus.
She talks about that. The author specifically talks about how Anne likes dominating people regardless of their gender. Like when she's thinking about Alice, like
right.
There's on the scene. To backtrack a little bit, on the scene in the London Bridge, she's trailing behind Alice, and Alice is like, "Why are you walking behind me like this?" And like, Anne's like, "Oh, I don't know. Like normally, like."
Yeah. Anne sees a leopard's spotted tail through the trees, likely because she liked the leopard at the Tower of London so much she donned a silk black dress made in honor of it and pretended to attack people. Again, more symbolism. It is just peppered throughout this entire book. But like everything, it's like it's peppered because there are signs. There are signs for Anne to be like, yes, you're doing the right thing. You're on the right path. This
connects to my point of the book.
Okay. And then we get a story about Jane playing with dead kittens. I hated that. And how this led...
I texted you about it. Like, oh my goodness.
I remember. I was like, did the author just... I guess the author fabricated that one because there's no way that would even be a fucking thing.
No, that was...
But, like, why is my question.
I think the why is that... And Anne muses about this. Is like, maybe she's mad. Maybe she was sexually assaulted. I think she was sexually assaulted.
Maybe.
I think that's the implication here. I think something really awful just happened to her. Because, like, Anne muses about that as a possibility, but she doesn't really think about it super hard.
I didn't even think of that, but I must have missed that part because, yeah, I did not pick up on that at all.
I think I can find it. Hold on a second.
Okay.
So it's in, it would be in, not the trial. Small Man He Dove, I love that. Thomas Wyatt. Oh, we passed Small Man He Dove where Alice was like, a good man. Alright. Jane, do you not realize the kittens are dead? Anne asked. What had happened to the kittens and their mother to strike them all down? Some disease? An animal? A crew-handed child? Had Jane herself killed them? More to the point, what had happened to Jane? Had she been struck in the head? She'd always been daft, but she never seemed unable to discern reality before. Had some lecherous
oh my god, I missed this entirely. I missed that.
Anne had seen such behavior once at the French court from a 13-year-old lady in waiting who was raped by a Viscount, and then spent the next week talking to her own shadow, going so far as to carry an elaborate debate with it during a banquet, while others dined and danced, trying to ignore the child and her ravings.
Wow.
So I think that the second is actually what happened to Jane.
Yeah, that checks the fuck out. That probably by Henry. Oh my god.
It's fucking hinted, like, she peppers all these hintings, like, this author is very skilled. Alright, let's carry on.
Okay. Alright, so now you're on your own. I've done my my notes. So we're at the Fens. We're at the Fens.
Alright, I'm gonna open up my book and then Ray remembers. King and Parish, hide the Fens. So they get to the carriage and they have an uncomfortable carriage ride. Anne is crying in her sleep and Jane holds her for a little bit and it makes fucking Anne like happy as shit. They get to the inn. This is something I've highlighted. Mothers to children existed in all walks of life, as did stepmothers. Anne had been one herself to the Lady Mary. But for a man to take more than one or two wives over his lifetime was unseemly. Oh yeah, because she heard the story about like a Fen man who like took a bunch of wives that just died of swamp fever, which is probably malaria. They reference swamp fever a bit in this. So they get to the island, and she meets George, Anne's brother, and she comments that like that's her brother's name. So they both have brothers named George, and they're lesbian lovers.
They are lesbian lovers. They will be. So mote it be.
So, I'm not going to be able to give I'm just going to summarize it. So, in this section, she goes to the island. She meets George, her brother. She meets a bunch of Fen children, including Jane's children. And she meets the baby minder also. And then the baby minder asks her to go and collect parsnips.
Parsnips. I love this chapter. I love this chapter because it's them like getting to know each other in like a very intimate, like learned way. Because they're learning things about each other. Continue. Sorry.
So she goes to the parsnips and she sees Alice trying to grab the parsnips. She's like, that's no parsnips that I know of. And then this is where she muses that she's never really seen food in its wild state, and she never really understood. This is when she starts tackling with her own ignorance, like really hardcore.
Yeah,
like, she
yeah.
realizes that there's like a bunch of shit out the world that she never bothered to know. It wasn't taught her.
Yeah, even though she knows Latin and French, she doesn't know anything about the earth.
So Alice and her have a conversation about this right now, where she's like, I don't know what that is. And Alice is like, what were you taught? And she tells Alice, well, I was like taught Latin and French, poetry, physics, politics, like philosophy, I think is one of the things she lists. She tells her all the courtly things that she was taught to learn. And I feel like Alice had a reaction to this, but I can't remember what it was. And they have like,
I love. Okay, sorry. Can I quote Alice? She says, Anne, Alice said, looking her straight in the eye, her expression amused but also tender. My question was one asked for effect and did not necessitate an answer, though your learnedness is impressive and something I wish I'd had access to, smart as my father always said I was. But no, I haven't read Tyndale's English translations of the scripture.
I remember tackling up that because it was like,
yeah, because she's like, I don't fucking know that, you dumb bitch.
I wouldn't. Why would I know this stuff? I appreciate that. You think I would know that?
I love it so much. It's so good. And then she's like, I don't know who that is, for one. And though I have learned my letters some, enough to read and sign a contract or read and write a letter, I do not possess any books, nor can I imagine having the wealth to do so. Besides, I rather enjoy having the scripture read to me in Latin at Mass, which, foreshadowing, that's totally something that they do for one another. That's totally something that they do for one another.
This author is so good at tying her themes exactly. Like, everything's said for a fucking reason. I love fucking books that do that. That's a rare skill. Most authors have filler.
I love it. I love it so much. There is no filler in this book, I don't think.
Nope. This is like a fairy tale or like. Okay, so, and then they go and make the soup and she gets sick again.
Yeah, she does not get sick from the soup, but she gets unwell.
Unwell. And
oh my god, but Alice dances with her first. Remember? Alice dances with her.
Alice dances with her.
Yeah, with the children. They all dance together because they've got is it a fiddle?
Yeah, and this is where, because George is playing the fiddle, and this is where she like realizes like talent and art, because she's like, oh, he's playing it really good, and like she realizes that she only really knows one noble that was truly good at the art, even though they were all taught arts as part of their schooling, but nobody was really talented. They were just trained.
Right. And like he's genuinely talented, which is really nice. I don't know. I really enjoyed that. But then after this, in the same chapter, we have them tell stories. They're all telling stories, and then Anne and Alice go outside, I believe. Hold on, I'm double checking. Yes. They go outside, and then Alice follows Anne outside. And then she's sick, and then they end up kissing. It's beautiful. I loved it. It was the lesbian kiss that we didn't know we needed. You know? It was the lesbian kiss we didn't know we needed.
I like that.
Yeah. Beautiful. Gorgeous. And then Then would you like to continue?
Yeah, so they kiss. This is after she like fucking deduces that like she's the queen. Like there's a bunch of sentimental stuff that goes on the island here. More remembering of how she was wronged, and then specifically Alice kisses her first on her neck scar. Like as some my favorite place
foreshadowing again. Sorry, I just saw this on page 183. Alice says, "My lady, you can make anything glum. I thought you were supposed to be the most happy. That's what all the criers said when you were made
the
queen.
most happy.
The most happy. Hear ye, shouted Alice in imitation of a royal crier. Queen Anne Boleyn is crowned the most happy, and they were singing that song about a white bird. Anne remembered, the white falcon. Henry had the song composed in honor of her coronation. It was an atrocious song rhyming gentle bird with white as curd. Yeah, that's terrible. The falcon was one of Anne's emblems, meant to represent steadfastness. Foreshadowing! Foreshadowing! Oh, man.
Which page is that?
That is 183.
And this is after she knows, because like in real life, Anne Boleyn was called the most happy.
Yes, she was called the most happy, which is why she's characterized like, you know, making jokes like to like the courtiers about like jumping out as the leopardess, you know, like doing things that are like goofy and fun, and like hosting little parties in her house, in her chambers. And like people are like, oh, that's so untoward, but like she is the happiest, which means that she's having the most fucking fun, which great for her. I hope she had so much fun on their dime.
Until like imagine you just had the most fun and all of a sudden like politics you didn't understand like got you beheaded.
Yeah, I know. And then she understood it. That's the thing, is that she was smart. That's why she birthed Elizabeth the First of all things, of all people, because Elizabeth the First was incredibly intelligent, which is crazy that we have the Enlightenment during her time.
It was like the early stages of the Enlightenment.
Yeah, like early stages, with Shakespeare and stuff like that. And it's like Anne set all that up. She was the one who was a patron of the arts, and then Elizabeth became a patron of the arts.
And Elizabeth didn't have any children.
No, she didn't. She ended the Tudor line.
She had like a pseudo fan cult, and it was all revolved around her virginity.
Well,
I bet she was a lesbian.
Well, like, no, she actually had a man that she was in love with. This is me remembering things that my mom told me about Queen Elizabeth. Sorry, hold on. Things that my mom told me about Queen Elizabeth. She loved a man, but she couldn't marry him, and so she stayed chaste her entire life, basically. Yeah,
I mean,
she couldn't marry him. She couldn't be with him. I can't remember his name. But speaking of Elizabeth, let's talk about the fear that Anne has over Elizabeth being an illegitimate child when Anne's executed, because that did actually happen. So Anne's reasoning to kill Henry for more than just revenge makes complete sense, because she is afraid that Elizabeth is going to be cast off and like left with nothing, which is why she spends like a bunch of money when she's in her chambers preparing for execution, buying Elizabeth clothes so that she can she has a wardrobe for the future. which is really sweet. I don't know if that's true or not. I assume it's true because that sounds like something that would be true.
That makes sense. Because I thought about this when I read that, and like my main thought is like this makes sense about like resource planning if you're wealthy but a female.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
It's like you gotta like make yourself look good, and like she understood those sorts of politics.
Exactly. She definitely did. She was actually a very good politician in the sense that she would always speak up. When she was that's mentioned in the book, that she would always speak up in a room full of men making decisions, and no one liked that. Henry liked it for a period of time, but he stopped liking it once she could no longer bear him a son.
Right.
But yeah, Henry restored Elizabeth to the line of succession when she was 10. I don't know why. I do think that's interesting. I assume it's because he didn't have he finally. I assume it's because he finally.
I'd rather just have somebody that was mine, even if they're not a boy.
Well, here's the thing: is that he did eventually have a son with Jane Seymour.
Mm-hmm.
So I assume he thought, if my son dies, I will have an heir, kind of thing.
So, according to Henry VIII's Wikipedia, like there are historians and scientists that believe that he had a specific genetic disorder that like was prone to a high mortality rate in infants.
Really?
Yeah, like hold on a second. I'm gonna look this up and screenshot it to you. And that's an interesting layer to this novel, because it was like he always blamed the women when he was trying to fuck to make a male heir, but it was really his fucking genetics fault.
Yeah. Apparently, I do remember, in the book, like it points out that like Henry does a lot of work to try and trace himself back to King Arthur.
Yeah, well, also he wears like costumes and shit. And
yeah,
I've actually heard this about him before.
Yeah. He's a weird dude. Yeah, like I thought about that, and like, yeah, like he's like genetically fucked up. And he also was genetically making it so that he had daughters, which technically is more
a more successful genetic strategy.
Yeah, because women are the ones who carry on the bloodline, not men. Which is really funny. That entirety of history has been predicated on men being the lineage of people, and it's like, no, actually women are the ones who carry on the DNA specifically.
Like, I'm completely convinced that like most human history was a matriarchal or an egalitarian, like between the genders sort of rule.
Mm-hmm.
But like once we did agriculture, like men just fucking like made buffer men.
Yeah.
With with food like, oh yeah, we can just choose who eats the most, and we can make some buff men, and then the buff men decide whatever does their thing.
Right. Okay, so continue, so that we can get to the end of this.
Yeah, I was trying to look something up. Let's go on. Where are we? We're still in the fence. They kiss. She like has a confrontation with her to tell her who she is, and Anne's like, tell me who I am, and like eventually it's Alice who says her name. She doesn't make Anne say her name. She tells her who she is. Like, and I thought that was a really like generous concession
Mm-hmm.
for the power dynamics. But the power dynamic kind of switched because, like, Anne's relying on Alice here. And so, and then
I do
Brother
like,
George.
we didn't mention this. I just want to say it, like, before you continue. In this moment where Anne is interacting with Alice and her brother, it's serendipitous, to say the least, that Alice's brother is also named George. So
Yeah,
symbolically, that's really important.
I don't think it's important. I think it's.
I think they did it on purpose, though. Like,
it is on purpose, but it's not important to the plot. It's a cementing thing to her feeling of where she's right in the moment. Like, it's important to her. Like,
no, I think that
George.
Like, yes, but like also I think that like it's showing her that this is the right path. Does that make sense?
That is actually what I was saying.
Yeah, so it's symbolic to her, it's not necessarily symbolic to us.
Yeah, that is, yeah, I agree. That
Okay.
is what I'm.
Yeah. So, okay, I just wanted to say that because like we hadn't mentioned it. Okay, continue. I'm sorry.
And there are a lot of moments, like, we'll save this. Okay, so like, we fast track to her being dropped off into the forest that has not been cut up yet, and she does some things, and then remembers some more details of her life. I'm not gonna remember those exact details, but they're more like, again, like she's thinking more like, it's more of details that were teased before, but she talks about more about, like, and you start to realize that she's realizing how fucked over she was, and she's getting angrier and angrier, and then she falls asleep, and then she wakes up, and there's the white bull snorting in her face, and there's all the symbolism of the white bull and her being a Boleyn.
Yeah,
and
like
her family name.
it's all like related to her family lineage, which is nice. I like it a lot.
The symbology is so neatly tied. I don't mind how heavy-handed it is.
Yeah,
it's a little heavy-handed, but
that's what I was thinking. That was what I was thinking, because it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, I don't hate it. I don't hate it because
I was gonna save this for the end, but like,
yeah, like there's so much that is so like just punch in your face, and you're like, okay, that's
but
fine.
It connects to each other and it paces itself. Like, okay, to referencing specifically why I don't like, God damn it, that fucking solstice, whatever it is, Sumar, the fucking sacrifice girl in the flower movie.
Oh, I've never seen that.
You've seen it. We've bitched about it before.
Have
Midsummer.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Yeah, because of the sex. So I'm gonna stop talking about it now. And so she's not like, all the symbolism in here is like very well phrased, I guess. I don't know, like it ties itself well together.
Yeah, like she really thought like she made multiple plot like documents and like made them all fit. I do like that she calls the white bull Zeus.
Right.
I enjoyed that. That was fun. And then she goes to she finds these guys, and they are like cool with her at first, and then Simon.
They are not Robin Hood's merry men, but these are merry men.
Yeah, and then This turns out to be Simon, who attacks her later. And the bull is not happy about that, and
the bull, like, eventually
he
fucks up
kills
the guy
Simon.
who exposed her.
Yeah,
this is a chapter, The Witch.
He kills Simon. All right, continue with where we were if you remember where we were. I don't.
Okay, so she's leaving with friends. She's going into the magical forest, and this part is the most magical. She goes to the forest. She meets a band of men. They accuse her of being a witch. Well, no, they like do this thing where like.
Well, they're nice to her at first, and then they decide later.
Well, one dude.
It's Simon. It's Simon.
But there's also a friar, and I think it's heavily hinted that this is a friar that like got kicked out of his monastery, is now just like a wandering person, and they tell her more about like hey, yeah, we're just like foragers and shit. Maybe we do crime, you don't know that. I mean, crap. And then like Simon fucking like accuses her. The bull fucking breaks the rope. And she rides the bull. And in the chapter previous, she talks about seeing an ancient artifact that was dug up that was a bull, B-O-L-E, that had on top of it as a handle a bull, B-U-L-L, being ridden by a woman. And then she rides the bull, and then she rides, and things happen. And then she comes to a lake, and she grabs the sword from the lake, and she starts seeing the Green Man again. And then she gets to London, and then once she gets to London, she realizes that she can't take the bull in London, and the bull realizes that his job is done, and so they bid farewell. And then she kind of creeps through London, and she gets back to the London Tower. And then in the London Tower, she sees the Green Man going into the London Tower, but she realizes that she can't follow him because she doesn't know if the Green Man is it doesn't matter if he's a figment of her imagination or that's literally like a gesture dress up as a Green Man. Either way, she can't walk in there like he could. So she sneaks around the back. She steals laundry, like from the servant gate that's hanging around. She steals an apron. She goes on. She creeps around for a bit. She fucking like changes paintings and rearranges silverware to just be creepy because she realizes that whatever, if I'm not a ghost, I'm still gonna fuck with people. And then she understands that the only place that she can get to the king's chamber is his private chapel, which they designed together, and she knows exactly where all that shit is. And so she like sneaks into again the princess chambers, and there's a corridor between them and the lawn of the hedge mains, and she goes in there, and then she steps in there, and then there's a servant that immediately recognizes her, and she tries to like out-ghost him. She's like, go away, I'm a ghost, and he's not buying it, and he fucking screams that he's there, and then she runs in the dead center of this hedge mage that apparently only her and Henry knew about. That was their secret thing, and they definitely fucked in there. And she talks about them fucking there, and there's more exposition about like how their love like went south all the fucking sudden, like how fucked up that like was, and how he never saw her as a person but just like a baby machine.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's a big thing.
Yeah.
And then she sneaks back out, or something, and then she finds Cromwell, and she's like, and Cromwell notices her, and because she went down to the beach. She went down to the beach of the River Thames, and that Cromwell's there, and they struck up a bargain, like, and just things we haven't talked about. She's like, she doesn't understand Cromwell's approach because Cromwell taught his daughters just like he taught his sons, so he understood the importance of teaching women, but he would like regarded her as a fucking beast. And so she strikes up a, like, so you are a ghost. And she's like, whatever if I am. And she's like, look, I'm going to kill the king. I want you to take care of my daughter because you're smart and you know how to do this shit. And he was like, look, if you kill, I'm not going to help you, but if you kill the king, I will do as you say. So they strike up a little bit of a bargain. And then she goes back out. And do you remember what happens after this?
She goes back out, and then she decides to go back into Jane's chambers. Because remember, she is like wearing Jane's dress.
Clothes, which were her clothes.
They were her clothes, but they were repurposed to.
They were resized for a bigger person.
Yeah.
So she's swamped out in this clothes, looking like a ghost.
Yeah, and so she decides to go back in there, and then she. Hold on, I'm flipping pages as we speak. Cromwell says, I won't help you, but I won't stand in your way. And basically, he's like, yeah, I will help Elizabeth. And then the Green Man reappears for Anne. And she's not sure if people can see the Green Man or if it's just her. And then she needs to eat some food, so she steals a pheasant, and then eats it, and then like leaves it on the floor. And then she starts moving the pictures around, which I really enjoyed but didn't make any sense because if there's not a latch on the underside of the painting, how do you do that? Didn't make no sense.
That's you understanding how paintings work.
Yeah, I was like, I love this, but I also hate it because it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And then Henry and the men, she hides in his chambers basically, and the Henry and his dudes, they leave, and then just as the men were about to round the corner, Henry turned and looked back
and sees her
and froze. He was looking right at her, his face blanched, his mouth opened and moved to make words, but no sound came out. She held his gaze. Her Henry, her love, her destruction. The courtiers turned the corner, and Henry, pushed forward by the inertia of the group, turned with them, and then he loses his fucking mind, even though he's completely ignored everything up until this point. He's like, oh, ghost in my gardens? Don't care.
She doesn't know if he's gonna, like, she immediately chooses to run, even though there's uncertainty if he, like, is gonna freak out or not. She talks about this, like, is he just gonna keep it to himself to, like, keep public image?
Yeah, and then she has to get to his altar.
Yeah. And lucky enough, it's a hollow altar.
Yes. So she hides in there, cramped up, and all the guards come on through, and they're like looking for her, and they're like, looks fine to me. And then because they don't check where she is, which is in the altar, it's largely fine.
They don't, because she mentions that only her and Henry, again, it's just like the middle of the hedge. only her and Henry know that the altar's hollow.
Right.
I don't think that's spelled
and then
out, but it
he comes in. And chapter 32 is called Scream and I'll Kill You. Sorry, I have the hiccups.
Because you tell them
that. Yeah. Can you continue? Because I have hiccups.
Yes. So he comes in, and, like, he says his prayers, and I remember it's like, you can't hear his prayers, they're indecipherable. And I was wondering, as the reader, I was wondering if the author was going to say what he was going to, because I knew he was going to come in and pray, because he's coming into, like, you know, his fucking inner sanctum thing that only gets a praying. So he was just murmuring something, and the narrator is well versed in languages, and she doesn't say, like, it was just like, I can't remember the words. And then she pops out, and
then he's like, oh shit, Jesus Christ.
And he tries to, like, be like, I loved you, always come back to me, baby. Oh my goodness, I was a lapse in judgment. And she's like, no, I got my head chopped off, and then chops his head off with a sword. And then she starts to get itchy,
and she becomes a falcon.
She turns into a goddamn falcon. I was not expecting this, but
I wasn't expecting it either, to be honest. Like, I did not pick, of all the things in this very predictable book, I did not expect that. It was very predictable otherwise.
But all the like, that's the thing I like about all the mythological things that happen, like the bull, the fucking witches scene, like the falcon. Those weren't things I was predicting. Like as a reader who read a lot of books, I knew that, like, she was probably going to succeed. Like, I could guess from I was worried that, like, Alice was going to, like, just, like, that wouldn't be the thing because I wanted them to just be lovey-dovey, but, like, so before I continue further, let's talk about the next thing.
Oh, the Elizabeth thing?
Yeah, so she flies in, and so I like how this book is put into 3 parts. And the first part is really long, and the second part is shorter, and the third part is really short. Because it's like problem resolution, reward.
Right.
So she goes and she flies to where her child is living. And something we haven't mentioned here is that, like, throughout this book, she talks about how her child was kind of stolen from her. She was not allowed to be a mother. She was forced to have a wet nurse. She always wanted to have a connection with her daughter, and it's always taken away from her physical needs. And she wants her daughter to do, like, the most she can. So she goes and she flies and she, like, gets into her daughter's apartment. She turns back to her human, and her daughter recognizes her, and she gives her jewelry, and she cuddles for a night, and, like, says some vague things that if the child, like, said what happened, everybody would be like, oh, that's just a child daydreaming. That didn't really happen. And then she flies off, and then she goes back to Alice.
Yeah, she goes back to the Fens, and it's super cool. Sorry, I still have the hiccups. I have not been able to get rid of them.
Hey, real quick, a good way to get hiccups is wait for the last hiccup, like, right when you feel it happening, and then you do a deep breath.
Yeah, I know. I've been trying to do that.
It's kind of a Mario Party sort of like mini game. Like, can you time this right?
Right.
Also, swallowing a swallowful of peanut butter is also good because it just relaxes your throat.
It's okay. I'll make food soon. It's cause I haven't eaten for a while. Basically all day. Um, so what would you rate this book?
I don't like doing overall ratings. I don't know, like, because you can't. I really enjoyed reading this book, but you don't want to give a book out of a 10 because no book's perfect.
No, and
So
I don't think this book is perfect. I feel like it's a lot of the things in it are really contrived, and
but I didn't mind them.
Yeah, so, I didn't mind it, but it wasn't a 10 out of 10 for me, or like a 12 out of 12 because we're doing 12s.
Yes.
I feel like for me it was a 5 out of 12 because like I enjoyed it. It made me think about history. It made me think about Anne Boleyn. It made me think about feminism. It made me think about um, the choices that men make. I enjoyed it. I genuinely did, but I don't think it's a masterpiece.
You're taking points so like using a lot of symbolism is a risky procedure because if you shoehorn too much of your point, it comes off as preachy. And like, I think I like this book because I agreed with the preachiness of it, even though it's a little preachy. But I don't think the preachiness was clunky because all the symbolism was well nested. None of it just seemed out of hand. It was all elegant. It all lined up with existing traditions of mythology that is constantly referenced.
Yeah.
Like, it was very well orchestrated. Like, it's very thoughtful writing.
It is thoughtful writing. It is thoughtful writing.
That's why I would put this like a 7 or an
8. Okay.
Out of 12.
I like that.
And like, I am a little biased because I like the messaging. I really liked the fucking like a big thing that went through me reading this book is that the injustices that the main character went through reminds me of what I call the rage.
The rage.
Like, the rage of understanding like how history is worked out and all the injustices that have gone through history. Like, the rage that only like certain informed people really appreciate.
Right.
That just makes you understand the rage even more. And like, it's like, oh, yeah, it's been like that the whole fucking time, and I can't do shit about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so for this to have that sort of ending was particularly satisfying.
Right.
It like, I don't mind that it was campy and a little forced, and a story I like, and an ending I like, and I rarely get to appreciate that sort of shit.
Right. Yeah, I enjoyed it. The only reason I don't give it like, a higher rating is because I do feel as though some of it could have been less on the nose,
Like, a little bit, like, so, like, normally I prefer a scalpel, but this isn't quite a chainsaw. This is more of, like, a hatchet wielded by a surgeon.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else you want to say about the book?
Probably. I think there were. I ain't gonna remember it now, but like, yeah, like mostly I liked like my favorite section of the book was the second section where like it was really mythological, and like you remember when she got the sword from the lake and she was like all King Arthur and shit, and then there was like Welsh text on the sword and she made a joke about it like, this is who the best is, but we don't know that because I don't, even though I'm well learned, I don't speak Welsh. I really wanted, like, I was hoping for at the end, like, someone would just tell her what that sword meant, but I knew I wasn't going to get that.
Right. I enjoyed that part. Yeah, that was a good part.
That was my favorite section.
Yeah.
She talks about the Fae, like, there's multiple things of history involved in this book because she talks about like the ancient Roman ties and the contemporary ties for the time period and the ties before the Roman ties. I think that's all I have to say. I'll probably be here though.
You'll probably be thinking about this book for longer.
Yeah, a little bit.
Sorry, I cannot get rid of these hiccups.
I'm telling you, take a deep breath in. Here, I'll do it with you. We'll wait for your next hiccup and we'll do it after the next hiccup.
Okay, I got it. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. I got the hiccups. Jesus Christ. It sucked. So, how pumped are you for the next book?
I mean, I've read the next book a couple times already, and I'm going to read it another time.
Oh no, and I have to do the summary next time.
Well, you did the summary this time. I got lazy and you took over.
I did take over. Well, you can prop me up.
Yeah.
Next time. Okay, well, I guess that's the episode. Do you have any other things you want to plug?
No, I don't think so. It was a very good book, and I enjoyed reading it.
Yeah, I would plug this book. Plug this book, The Beheading Game by Rebecca Lehman. It was fun. It was quirky. It was full of delights. And a man dies at the end, which is nice.
He gets his head chopped off.
He gets his head chopped the fuck off. And it's great. 10 out of 10. Or
10 out of 10.
Okay. 10 out of 10 if we're on that scale, but 5 out of 12 on my scale. 5 out of 12 on my scale. Because I really enjoyed it, but I did find some of the linksies a bit contrived. But I did like how very careful she was about it. She was very careful about it, and I enjoyed it.
She did a good fucking tap dance. Like, it was like this tap dance of, am I being corny? Am I the corniness in prose? Like, just
it was good. It was a joy to read. Honestly, I blew through that book.
If somebody if some incel read this, they'd be like,
they'd be like, ew, they kiss at the
end. Why would
they?
I don't think anyone that would even start this book, so who cares about their opinions?
Yeah, their opinions suck. Who cares? Who fucking cares?
Right. Your opinions are stupid by default.
Yeah, like, your opinions are dumb. Don't like it. So that's the episode. Thank you guys for listening if you have listened. Dailey, say goodbye to the
Goodbye, huzzah.
Huzzah. Huzzah. All right. We'll be back next time with The Heart is a Lonely Hunter by Carson McCullers. stick around if you feel like it. Thanks.